Hello again, Iwona, because
Hello.
we already met briefly this morning. I am very glad that we are together within this project, Nordic Insights, and I look forward to as I said, pick your brain about the projects that you coordinate within Intercult. We also spoke about last week, where maybe you would like to pinpoint something, because you had a huge project, and you also had artists involved. I will let you develop this. I would be very interested, and hopefully our listeners as well, to see in your practice and in your projects developed, how would you approach, you as an organization, a cultural organization, but also all the stakeholders involved? How have you approached the idea of contested heritage? You worked a lot with waterfront projects, not only in Sweden, of course, and it would be very interesting to see some parallels with other European cities. And last but not least, maybe we'll just a bit dive in this idea that you articulated, that artists act as a megaphone for the community. I would be very interested to see how would you facilitate, how would you direct this actually this force, this creative force, in order to address issues, and also, why not, challenges in the public space, and also to connect the public, the community, with why not other stakeholders, including public authorities. So coming back to the first one, maybe if you would like to begin with the Memory of Water project, where you work with the post-industrial waterfront heritage. It would be very interesting to see, because you also work with ex-communist country as well, and from our approach in Romania, some heritage industrial sites are not considered heritage, actually, and this is developing slowly towards why not a kind of long-term education concerning what is heritage and what is not. So what would you put in the history, or what you take out of the history? So keeping things short, please, Ivan.
Okay, so what was the first question?
Well, you would like to tell us what you did last week, and then maybe we jump into the Memory of Water project.
Okay, I'm working with the organization Intercult in Stockholm, dealing with international collaborations funded by EU, the cultural funds. We are a culture organization, and we are working with artists in different way, supporting urban challenges. Last week we had the Stockholm Lab, Turning the Tide Stockholm Lab, which the subject of that lab has been to speak about climate changes and how the climate changes influence urban development, urban planning, life of the citizens in the context of urban planning, the future of our cities, to speak simply. For that, we collaborated a lot with artists, but also with other cultural organizations in Europe, other civil organizations in Europe, also the municipalities, the organizations with which in one way or another has a power to make decisions about the future development of the cities. And the cities with waterfronts or without waterfronts, but mostly with waterfronts, are in our focus, because we believe in the power of water, in the memory of water. We also value the water as a source of life. it's quite simple. So the climate changes in the cities, also the development of the cities, the rapid development, which is accelerating more and more today, changes the quality of water, changes the relations of the citizens to water, which we think should be acknowledged and yeah, we need a reaction of citizens. We need a reaction of the civil society to those changes. So we are growing the awareness regarding the value of what we have in the cities, the resources we have in the cities, like water, and of course, like the cultural heritage, which you mentioned. Which we worked with as a subject in our previous project, Memory of Water. So to speak further, of course, you are welcome to ask questions in between as well. But to speak further, in Memory of Water, the title says what it was. We worked with the post-industrial waterfront heritage across multiple European cities. And we encountered, of course, different situations where artists mainly, but also supported by local communities or opposite local communities both collaborated, were contesting or rejecting the preservation of were supporting the plans of reject the preservation of post-industrial sites, and that in most cases we have seen helped, but not entirely. That is, the plans in the cities we have been working with were adjusted a little bit, were possibly discussed together with the local community, but not changed entirely. And what can I say about the Memory of Water, how it started and why Stockholm? Giving the examples, that was the example I would like to give here is not the example from the project, but it's an example from Stockholm, which we tell people about, people coming here, our partners coming here, international artists coming here. Everybody sees a beautiful Stockholm surrounded by water with parks, so the green-blue balance or the green-blue areas are very nice for the citizens here. And the city of Stockholm is fighting for preserving or developing the blue-green areas here in the plan for sustainable development. But it actually started with quite a sad story. That is the demolitions in the 20th century, where when a big chunk, a big part of Sweden's cultural heritage disappeared. It's not only about Stockholm, it's about the old quarters also in smaller Swedish cities. In the 60s and 70s, the architects, planners of Stockholm, of Swedish cities, they claimed that due to the overcrowded and unsanitary conditions, the old slums should be demolished, torn down, and which they did. So there was kind of a conversation between property owners, construction companies, politicians, architects, and social engineers of that time, speaking about partly the conditions for the citizens in the city, but also the futuristic ideology that the city should look in a modern way. The old had no value and simply had to go. So the demolition of so-called Klara quarters in the city, or in the very city, the central part of Stockholm, in the 60s and 70s, started, and that was called normal regulation or city sanitation. And large part of old buildings of that time were demolished to give space to the modern Stockholm. And this transformation was one of the biggest in the Swedish history, later on heavily criticized, as that caused destroying a large part of country's cultural heritage. And with that, I mean not only Stockholm, but also smaller cities, which in some parts had been deprived between 50 and 80% of cultural heritage, the old buildings. So we are speaking not only about the post-industrial cultural heritage, which is of course contested as not being a real cultural heritage, but also the real cultural heritage, which is, I mean, the architecture of between 1800th century. Which was the case in 60s and 70s when the demolition of Klara happened. So we can say that large portion of the old buildings from the 17th and 18th centuries was destroyed as well, which is a real cultural heritage today. And how the demolition end, which is leading us to the subject of today, how do you work with the contested cultural heritage being either not treated as cultural heritage or a real cultural heritage? How do you stop it? How do you end it? Of course, we are working in our projects with the artists and civil society, which is a strong power. Activists are crucial to that development. Also, culture in general. I mean, I am not an artist, but I am working with projects which support the actions of civil society, of activists, combining different methodologies, not only artistic methodologies, but also dialogues, conversations, organizing platforms for conversations between different parties. So we are joining forces between different powers in the society. We do it as I don't know. We do it as well. Not I don't know. I know that we are doing it as artistic interventions as one methodology, but also with the so-called urban labs, which is the methodology brought from the world of research from citizen science, where we create platforms for conversations. So the projects, both Memory of Water and Turning the Tide, and also the methodology of working with the River Cities Network, we are changing the community perception by working with artists, artists with social engagement. So not all artists want or are willing to or are interested in working in that way. We are looking for artists who can give us their social engagement, and their practice is connected to combining the artistic view with social engagement view. They are working actively with communities. They are exploring the DNA of the place. They are looking at cultural heritage, myths, legends, landscapes, built environment, and they treat it as a resource of building the future. Culture planners would call it the culture planning methodology, but artists are working in their own way, researching the place. And then they always developed a prototype, visual view based on listening to local citizens. They give us a view of future plans they see for the place. So the artist's role is being a narrative, creating a narrative transformation. They are acting as actors for narrative transformation around the subject which we are working with, which last week was the climate change, or last 2 years even, because this was just one of the events during the project, but also cultural heritage, which we have been working with before. So the project is using as a methodology for artists, given to artists, artistic residencies to enable them to stay in one place for a longer time and research the place and then create the artistic intervention or any action they want to create. And the urban lab methodology, which uses culture planning as a framework. So we have a transdisciplinary approach in those labs. We are gathering people from different disciplines like architects, urban planners, experts on climate change, experts on culture, on cultural heritage, experts on education, for example, different disciplines. This is the key of the action. And we also, with that, we want to promote new forms of governance, because the traditional governance with decision making from top to grassroots is not working anymore. We want to encourage citizens to involve in the city planning, to give their view on city planning and speak to their officials, to policymakers about their wishes. And in this way, the decisions can be locally rooted and not only being taken by people who are sitting on the very high positions in the decision-making bodies. So combining different disciplines, combining local initiatives driven by local residents with municipal support, because municipalities are very important. So, but combining those groups is also the key to success, the key to changing anything in the planning of our cities, urban planning. Yes.
Yeah,
Maybe I will
wow.
stop here.
Very interesting. And actually, fast forward thinking about our Nordic Insights project as well. Apropos, one of our final documents, like an action plan. What is most interesting is, and I would like to a bit to ask you about. How do the artists work in residency? Do they have to deliver an artwork in the end, or do they have to interfere or have an intervention within a public space, or they have to have an art of work in the end to be exhibited, or is it merely research? They go on the field, they do sociological work, because you mentioned transdisciplinary approach, and in the end, so the idea is, what would be the outcome in technical terms that the artist can give, so that you can take that outcome and transform it in a language that, for example, the policymakers can understand, and then to see actually the results of of an artistic research or intervention within a future public policy or administrative measures. How would you? I know it is a long-term work, but how would you see this knowledge transformation in order actually to be put at use for the community?
Yes. So speaking about the residencies, it's only one methodology, so to say, which we can implement in our projects. Otherwise, there are many methodologies which artists are using. To describe the residencies, we use both international and local residencies. Well, to get to know the place, it's not so easy. You need time. And if you come from abroad, it's even more difficult, as in the short time you are expected to learn the place, to see how the place works from the perspective which we wish the artist to look for example, the climate changes, the water, the cultural heritage. So the international artists are staying for a month, sometimes coming back. It depends on resources in the project, sometimes not. The longer time they have, the better, of course. It's difficult, but what we want the international artists to do is to see the place from the perspective of the outsider. How does it look like? Because in the locality, we often speak about our problems. We have our forums, we have our discussions, and what we maybe lack at the end is a distance to the subject we are discussing. But artists coming from outside and experts coming from outside, they can see it with the different eyes. So the artist is researching. We are, of course, giving possibilities to the artists to research, to meet people locally, experts on the subject, but also other artists. They work together with other people here so that they don't feel alone. At the end, there is an expectation of delivering a result of that research, which can be an artistic intervention. It can be a video. It can be any other intervention the artists wish to do, but it can also be a documentation of the research during the time in the city, which has a value, of course, in itself, because it's always commented by artists. So there is an expectation of giving us the documentation of this month and how the artists see the problem. We also have local residencies with our local artists, which are much longer. It's 3 months, and the same methodology. Some research, they often live in the place, so they don't know the place better than the international artists, but they have then 3 months with an assignment to look at that special subject, and also as a result, either an artwork, an intervention, or a documentation. So this is the methodology, but in our project. But I would like to mention that artists have been working with the contested cultural heritage in a different way, and a very beautiful example of that is the former Gdansk Shipyard. It's not Stockholm, it's Gdansk Shipyard, former Gdansk Shipyard, which we have been working with in Memory of Water a lot. And that area in Gdansk has also been both protected by artists and protected by the civil society, and the subject of many interventions since the shipyard has been closed. So artists, when it's a long story, when the shipyard bankrupted, well, everybody knows the shipyard also by the solidarity movement. The artists moved into the buildings. There has been around 100 old factory buildings on the area of the shipyard. There has been a very active artists colony in Gdańsk, working with who lived there, who worked there, and that they turned attention of the local society, of the municipalities. Of course, everybody knew the place as a former working place for thousands of people in Gdańsk, but the artists turned attention to the value of post-industrial cultural heritage, which is your subject, and they stayed there working with that area for quite a long time until the city decided that it's not longer possible, and then the civil actions around the area of the shipyard started, together with artists working with interventions from the outside. The solidarity movement, which happened in the area of the shipyard, was also one of the most important civil resistance campaigns in Europe, contributing to the collapse of the communism in Central and Eastern Europe, which is widely known. So the area has an undiscussed value in many ways. The movement of against the demolition, for protecting the area as much as possible, lasted until the last years. Gdansk Shipyard is also a subject of deciding if it could be a UNESCO site. It's not decided yet. It's on the list of UNESCO to be decided. And for now, most of the buildings have been demolished, but 17 buildings are to be kept, and that is decided by the municipality, by the developers. And I would say that this result, which maybe is not the best one, more of the buildings could be kept, but still 17 huge buildings are kept. And I think that this is a positive result against the very aggressive plans of demolishing of the area. So I would say that this is a success. Also, Govan Docks, which we have been working with in Memory of Water, Govan Graving Docks in Glasgow is one such example. It's a historic site in Glasgow. And after years of discussions, years of protests from the civil society, in Govan, there is also an organization working for preservation of the docks, which led the community campaign advocating for the site to be a heritage park. It landed in the plans that the Govan Graving Docks will be partly restored. One dry dock will be a historic ship repair, but the others will be built as a housing area. So I think that maybe it's not a winning campaign entirely. But still, together with new homes, There will be a mixed-use development, which means that part of this area, its history, will be preserved for the future, and it's a clear example of a post-industrial cultural heritage with future mixed use, as well as Gdansk is that kind of an example. Okay, now I was speaking about two examples. What was the question again?
Actually, I want to follow up to tell me a bit how you work in your own city, or well, in the country itself. Maybe we can find there some methodologies that would be, I know, like study cases for us, because you mentioned a lot that you have discussions, you have forums. So maybe you can guide us a bit into the type of structure that you use. I mean, you have a network. Or connecting also the public administration, but also I guess teachers, artists, and then architects, and so on and so forth. How would you select them? How would you put them together? What's your back in the back work that you do? How you prepare the briefs, the meetings, how you extract the outcomes, how you move them forward in order to acquire the desired results. So just a bit to give us a glimpse of how you work.
As I mentioned before, the methodology we use is the artistic methodology and the methodology of urban labs. And that is the goal is to change the perception of the community and the perception of the municipalities, the decision makers. The community, that is quite an interesting question, changing the community perception, because the communities are not always supporting the preservation of the cultural heritage, of the post-industrial cultural heritage that is treated as well old and not worth to preserve, for example, the areas of Stockholm, the Klara areas of Stockholm, which has been demolished in the 70s, not worth to preserve. So changing of the perception of decision makers is, changing the perspective of the community is as important as changing the perception of the decision makers. And this is one of my main points here in this conversation. The community is not always willing or not always paying attention to what is happening around. And for that you need that methodology of artists, which means that because culture is appealing to totally different emotions than facts and research. So here we should separate the methodology in two parts. When you work with culture, when you work with culture-driven changes and artistic methodologies, you appeal to emotions, you appeal to feelings, you appeal to visual pictures, you are using different arguments, and to appeal to the feelings is in the community work more important than bring research arguments or statistics on the table. But working with decision makers, which hopefully are the municipalities and not the developers, because the developers, they always wish to get the land. They always to wish to maximize the profit. So working with our political decision makers, that means working with research and statistics and not that much emotions. But when you gather them in one room and show the artistic encounters, that appeals even to emotions of those people, because we are just human beings. We all love the culture, most of us at least, the culture the artistic encounters can influence us all, appealing to us as human beings. How do we extract? We invite the knowledge to the urban lab with those diverse environments. We invite artists to show what they did. We are working, of course, with vernissage, with exhibitions, with conversations with artists. We are dealing with digital exhibitions. So this is a part of the methodology which is quite stable, which is quite well developed. And then we also have the participation of the experts, which is on the level of regular conferences with panels, with keynotes, which are then after those gatherings. The last gathering was, for example, called Turning the Tide Stockholm Lab. This is a laboratory because we don't know the outcome. Really, this is also a trial and error. During those days, we are listening to a combination of experts on the subject, of philosophers, of politicians, hopefully, if they want to join. All culture planners are playing a really interesting role. I would say the culture planners, which is a very special expertise combining cultural assets in the city, researching cultural assets in the city with city planning. All those people are in place during our gatherings, and we are listening, we are speaking, we are debating. After that, there will be a summary of our conclusions.
Super interesting. Thank you so much. Actually, it's also important to have the constancy of it. So you have to regularly do that so that you can also see the long-term results as well. So yeah.
Well, as for the regularity, research organizations, universities are using urban labs as a way with working with different subjects, collaborating with citizens. It's within the citizen science, like, for example, working with air pollution or water pollution, which are the subjects of research. They are working actually with urban labs as methodology, which is highly recommended, I think. But as for the regularity, in our case, we are a small culture organization trying to get funds from European Union to work with the subject on the European level, and this is the added value. So the regularity lies in doing this in different cities twice a year, not even every year, twice a year. So in Member of Water, Member of Water catched us we were catched by COVID, so we couldn't do it physically, but we did it also digitally. It's also a part of the methodology. So in Member of Water, we did it in Gdansk, Stockholm, Govan, Ostend, Vienna, and one more city in Ireland. And here in Turning the Tide, we are doing the labs about climate changes in Stockholm, also Govan, Vienna, Evia in Greece, in Wals in Netherlands, and in Gdańsk in Poland. So it's done quite regularly, I would say, as long as we have a possibility to apply and to be granted those European funds. So in our case, we are not a municipality, we are not an institution, even cultural institution. We are just a simple NGO collaborating with other NGO, smaller or bigger organizations in Europe on a totally different level, I would say, than research and other structured actions taken by different bodies.
Yeah, I think small and smaller organizations are more agile and are more, well, the hard work and the possibility to be flexible. I think it weighs quite a lot. If you would be an institution or a huge organization, I think the size would be not necessarily an asset. So from my point of view, because we also work in a small organization, but I can see actually we have a speed and the richness of content that I also see in your case. So actually, I think this is actually due to our size and our principles. So yeah.
Possibly, but there are both advantages and negative sides of the size. I mean, advantages is the freedom of speech. We are not connected to any political bodies, but of course, the more negative part of that is that we are maybe not listened to that much as for example research, but it's in my opinion it's very important to connect researchers to our work, so that we are not alone in our work with artists' emotions, visual pictures and so on, but the urban labs in our case, with this diversity of experts, also with statistics, also with research, also with tangible arguments, appealing, also economic arguments, by the way, appealing to some part of the decision making, should be also present in our work. So it's a mixture. It's that mixture which is hopefully the successful methodology.
Yeah, I think my professional opinion is as well that without interdisciplinarity, you cannot move forward really, because there are intricate and complicated issues and situations, and the society at its big level requires very many and very diverse and very connected approaches that I think you couldn't do only artistic or only research, because they have to be connected. This is what we see around us. So yeah.
There is one beautiful example which I usually talk about. It's an old example, but still I think a nice one. I have been working with this example for a few years. It's in Sweden. It's in Stockholm. Everybody knew that the Marabou chocolate, I guess, and there is a post-industrial site of this factory, Marabou, in one of the suburbs in Stockholm, which is called Sundbyberg, and the municipality of Sundbyberg invited an artist, Kerstin Bergendal, in 2010 to create a park play in lasted between 2010 and 2014, and this was a collaboration between an artist and the municipality. The artists use durational strategies of play, and gather a broad range of different people to raise their awareness about a proposed district plan for densification of two urban areas in this part of the city. And this art project, which it was, led by an activist architect at the municipality, and this artist Kerstin Bergendal, created a different plan in collaboration with citizens living in the area. And that plan was then presented in a public gallery, shopping gallery actually, and I have seen it. I have been there several times together with my guests from abroad. And it was presented to the municipality, and the plan was approved actually by the municipality 2 years later. And that meant that the plan of the group of 6 major developments in Sweden has been rejected. The municipality accepted the plan, which was created by the artists together with citizens. So, I mean, there are methodologies, not always activistic, not always only artistic, but in collaboration with different parts taking decisions in the city, planning the city, which are effective.
Super nice. Yes, it's a good example. It's not all that also, because urban planning is made on, I don't know, on 50 years at least. So yeah, hopefully. Oana, thank you very much. Great to hear your views, and congratulations again for your work, and keep on the good work, of course. And hopefully we'll meet again in a digital form or in an offline form. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Oana, for inviting me to this conversation and this interesting project.
Thank you.